Welcome to the Real Mummy podcast, where we dive into the unfiltered, honest stories of motherhood. I'm your host, Lucy Dalton, and today's episode is one you won't want to miss. We're talking about one of the most challenging aspects of parenting, baby sleep. Joining us today is Amanda, a mum of three who's here to share her raw and real experiences with sleep, those sleepless nights, the dreaded regressions, and the small victories that keep you going. If you've ever felt the frustration of a baby that just won't sleep, or wondered if you're the only one who's ever bounced on a yoga ball at 3 a.m, this episode is for you. Amanda's journey through the ups and downs of baby sleep is not only relatable, but also filled with insights and a good dose of humour. Get ready to laugh, maybe cry a little, and definitely feel a lot less alone as we delve into the realities of sleep deprivation, the myths we're told, and the practical tips that can make a world of difference. So grab your headphones, settle in, and join us for an episode packed with real talk about baby sleep, the good, the bad, and the very, very sleepy. Welcome to the Real Mummy podcast. Let's get started. Hi, Amanda. Thank you for coming on. Welcome to Real Mummy.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So excited to share some real mum stories on sleep. So, yeah, the real stuff.
Yep. That sounds good.
So I was really wanting to do this episode as well because I was I hated when you go to the mums groups and you'd sit and everyone would kind of be comparing about how good their baby slept and all this. And and if you have a baby that doesn't sleep, like myself, my first Maisie did not sleep. And Amanda, you've got how many kids?
I've got 3 kids now.
And did any of them sleep well as newborns and babiys?
No, not really. One of them, my third, kind of, but my first 2 were shockers as well. So
that's why I was I'm going to ask you on because I was we kind of did it together. Our daughters are 1 week apart from each other, and B, you've got 3 kids. You've done it 3 times, so you are very well seasoned, mum.
Yeah.
So, how old are your kids now?
My eldest, Henry, is 6. Then I've got a daughter, Madeline, she's 4, and my youngest, Elsie, is just 18 months now. So we're still a little bit in the thick of things with her.
So yeah, it's crazy. And I didn't realize what a thing sleep was. I remember when being pregnant and reading the books and doing all this, and I was oh yeah, I'm going to do this and this and this, and my baby's going to sleep like this, and that's fine because I'm prepared, and but it doesn't actually work out the way you want it to work out, and every kid is so different. Both my girls were complete opposites to do with everything, and it's even sleep.
Yeah, same. All might have been so different.
It's what works with one won't work with the other. So even if you've had one kid, you're oh yeah, I know what to do. Second child, no, they'll still throw a curveball.
Yeah, even I feel as well, even if you figure out what works for your kid, it very quickly changes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, things are always, easier and then harder again and then easier. So, yeah.
And they kind of keep you on your toes a bit. But yeah, it's such a big thing, sleep. And it's such I won't lie, I used to hate when people would say to me, they're oh, so is she a good sleeper? And I was
yeah.
Well, A, she's a newborn, so she's meant to feed all the time. And B, no. Next question.
Yeah, it's the biggest question. Do they sleep through the night? It's does anyone's?
I know. It's they're 6 weeks. Are they sleeping through the night? I was no. As a first-time mum, I'm she won't even sleep an hour together. So,
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, so if they're listening and maybe they've had babies who haven't slept and they just want to laugh and be oh God, I remember those days, bit of PTSD.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're in the thick of it now and you're listening to this as you're up at 4 a.m. and your baby's not sleeping, and you want to listen and be oh, okay, yeah, these girls have had the same, and I promise you they do sleep. They do sleep eventually, I promise. But when you're in the when you're in the trenches, I say, it feels like it's never going to end. And for me, with Maisie, who was so bad, I was what have I done? I'm never going to sleep ever again. And it's just you go crazy with the sleep deprivation.
Yeah, it literally affects everything in your life. It's a form of torture, literally.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so hard.
All right, so let's get into it. So Amanda, tell me, so you've had 3 babies, newborns. So did they sleep lots? When you hear about newborns that everyone just says, oh, they just sleep all the time. Blah, blah, blah. How did yours go?
Yeah, so yes and no. So like they were all very different. My son, he was my first. And I remember he was up every 1.5 hours overnight.
Feeding or just unsettled or?
Yeah, feeding. I don't know, like, and I suppose it's hard because he was breastfed as well. So
Yeah.
because I was a first-time mum, I don't know whether he was just wanting comfort or anything like that. But yeah, every 1.5 hours on the dot, he would be awake. And because I was breastfeeding, my husband couldn't really do a lot to help.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like me. So yeah, he wasn't particularly a good sleeper. My second daughter, Madeline, she actually had really severe reflux as well.
Oh.
So she couldn't lay flat, which meant she couldn't sleep. She would also feed a lot because she would feed and then throw the whole thing up and then need to feed again. So that was pretty rough as well. And then Elsie was actually pretty good. She would do like a good 3-hour stretches overnight, which was definitely the best of all of them. But she had a bit of night-day confusion at the beginning. And
yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
She might awake in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all a bit different. I'd say, yeah, in a nutshell, my first two were hard and Elsie's definitely been the easiest. Yeah.
We were like that. Like Maeve was I always said she was a dream newborn because I hated the newborn stage with Maisie because of the sleep. Like she was difficult to breastfeed and all that, but the sleep was just terrible. Like I remember she would only sleep for like 45 minutes on a night and that was it. So I would literally feed her and it's not even like she was hungry. She was just so unsettled and I just couldn't get her to sleep. And then like she'd be awake all night and then come 4 a.m. she would like sleep for ages. And so she'd sleep so good during the day. So she had that day and night confusion, but I say really good during the day. It was still terrible like for a newborn. And then whereas May was so different. Like I remember like every 2 hours, like she would wait for a feed, but like, you know, that's what they do. Mm-hmm. But the difference was like I would breastfeed her and then just pop her down. Like she'd be kind of half asleep and she would just put herself back to sleep. And like she did that, I know, and like she did that the whole time. Whereas Maisie, I remember sitting on that bouncy ball. I think we were sending each other like Snapchats, like on these like, you know, the yoga balls, like bouncing, trying to get her to sleep. And like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I remember, yeah, same thing. She didn't like the bassinet. So then I was like, okay. So then I got the pram and I'm like, does she want to sleep in the pram? And oh my God, it was just like.
That sounds like Maddie actually.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, we did the same thing on the ball with Maddie. Oh my God, we did it for about 9 months. And then
9 months. Oh.
Yes, and then we had to do some gentle crying it out sort of thing because this was obsessed with bouncing on the ball. And we tried everything, pram, car seat, even like her bouncer, like the thing. Nah, she just wanted to bounce on that ball.
I know. I was like, it was horrible, like for me. And I was like, I feel like I was robbed of that newborn time because she just didn't sleep and she was just so difficult. And then I was dreading it with Maeve, like with my second, absolutely dreading the newborn sleepless. And then when you've already got a toddler already, and yeah, she was like a great typical newborn. She did actually just sleep. And like I've got like videos of Maisie like walk around with tambourines and she was just asleep. Like so different. And that's what I mean. Like, and there's nothing I did differently. It was just, yeah, just like to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, that's it. They're all so different.
Did you find as well like the lack of sleep was a shock?
Yeah, I did. Because I mean we've all been tired before, but like it's just this different level of tired. Like you can't even function. Like you actually feel physically unwell. Like yeah, it is such a rude shock. And being like having to get up the next day and like look after them and make they stay alive. Like you just feel like you're not like equipped to do that.
I was the same, like, because obviously we worked together as nurses, so we did so many night shifts together, and we were both, I don't know about you, I was a little bit cocky. I was like, oh yeah, I do night shifts, I do shift work, I can go on minimal amounts of sleep, but I think this is the difference. It's like when you're working shift work, you know, you go to sleep and then you can just be tired and, or have a set, but you have to get up and function and be a parent, like actually function, like, and.
Yeah, and I think with shift work as well, like, I suppose motherhood is a little bit the same with all your stages, but when you have a shift, it's like an end in sight. Like if you have a night shift, you're usually rostered off the next day to sleep.
Yeah.
But it's not like that when you've been up all night with your baby, you get up the next day and like, I don't know about everyone else, but in my situation, my husband would go off to work and I'd be left with this baby with no help.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely like shift work is so different. Like you do get that sense of security, but yeah, it's nothing like it.
I think that's the thing, like you said, there's no end in sight, and it does, you kind of feel like you're in this like this hole, and you're just like, you know, because you know that the next night you're not going to get a catch up, and especially like when you're feeding, you know, breastfeeding, like you do need to feed them regularly, and you know, and it's just, and for me it was like, because I was breastfeeding, I was like, oh well, it was just easier for me to get up even when I was tired. I remember Mark saying like, oh, do you want me to get up tonight? And I'm like, I know, but then I'm still going to have to pump, and then you have to give a bottle because I want you to keep feeding, so it was just easier, and it was just, yeah, it was like, for me, I used to, I don't know about you, I would dread, like as soon as the sun was setting on a night, I would get this dread over me. It was really, really weird feel. And I didn't get it so much with Maeve, I think, because I was like, okay, like, I think as well when you're kind of a seasoned mum a bit more, you're just like, oh, whatever, you know, it doesn't last forever. But when you're a new mum, you don't know that. And it just feels like it's never gonna improve.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I used to get the same thing, especially, like I said, with your first, like with Henry. And I think like I would get so anxious, like because I knew that he was going to wake up in a second. Yeah. I just couldn't fall asleep. I thought, what's the point? He's going to be waking in a second. Yeah. So I'd almost end up laying there waiting for him to wake up. Yeah. I just couldn't fall asleep. So yeah, definitely same thing, just dreading it.
I used to hate it, and I'm like, I just actually hated the nighttime, because I'm like, during the day, it's weird. Like I remember everyone says that like, everything's better in the daytime, and it's so true. Like you have a terrible night, and then come the morning, you're like, oh, you feel better, but it's like even if you haven't had much sleep. But I think that's the thing. It's just kind of like you kind of feel like alone when you're up all night feeding. I know I did, especially, like, I think because none of my friends had kids. So like there was no one I could have really spoke to. I remember that first week I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then all of a sudden I saw you were online, and I was like, because like, I think, you had your baby a week after me, and then you were online. And it was weird. It was like a weight off my shoulders knowing like someone else is up all night as well. Like it's a weird thing to kind of have that, but
and you don't realize how lonely it's going to feel. Even like I think as well, going into being a first time mum, I thought that I think I was expecting to feel a little bit more connected with my husband and feel like we were in it together. Like he's the mum, he's the dad, I'm the mum, we're in it together. But it's really not like that. That was like a whole nother conversation about what it does to your relationship. But like, you feel like you're in it on your own. Like at the end of the day, it's you're up with the baby, they're asleep next to you. So yeah, I don't think anyone understands it quite like other mums. Yeah. And we can literally be up at the same time as one of your friends. Yeah. Messaging it was like 2:00 in the morning or something. Ridiculous. It definitely makes you feel less alone.
Honestly, that for me, I think that's literally, you saved me in that moment, because I remember like looking out the window and being like, oh my God, everyone's asleep. Like, I wish I was asleep. And then you look at your husband who's asleep, and you're just so tired, and everything is so hard, and the baby's crying. And that's the thing, like, it's not even like she was laying there awake. Maisie was crying, like just like unsettled, like she was tired, but she couldn't get to sleep. And it was just, it wasn't enjoyable. You know, it was so stressful. And yeah, I know what you mean. It was just like, when you message someone, you're like, oh my God, someone else is in the same boat. And Mark, I remember, bought me this book, and it was like, I remember because I think he saw I was struggling, and he bought me this book called Motherhood. I don't know if I lent that to you. And
I don't think so.
And it's literally just a bunch of mums writing their stories about being a mum. And there was a couple in there about like being up all night feeding and stuff. And I was like, okay, wow, that's not just me. Because I think you get yourself in this bubble, and you're like, I'm the only one up all night feeding. Everyone else's babies are sleeping.
Yeah. And you think you're, the only one doing it tough. But it is like, I love that term motherhood. It is like, look, you have to have like other mums around you, because they're the only ones in the whole world who know what it's like.
It is. It's literally that. And like, I remember you'd meet someone and they're like, oh, my baby hasn't slept. I was like, oh my God, mine either. Oh, how long was yours awake for? And it's like, 3 hours last night. I'm like, same. Even now we still kind of do it. Like with toddlers, I'm like, oh, baby was up for an hour last night. Like, me too. And it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah. All the stages. Yeah. Because I find Elsie, like, even though she's been pretty good, she seems to really struggle when she gets teeth.
Yeah.
And we just had that, like she had the first 2 top molars come through, along with about and then they finally broke through, and then we had the bottom star. Yeah. So we've had a few rough months, But yeah, it's funny because my sister, her daughter's around the same age. So we've kind of been going through little rough patches together, like in that same way. So yeah, again, feeling like way less alone, like way more, like you feel a little bit more normal, I suppose.
Yeah.
As well.
You do. And yeah, I think that's the thing, like for some mums who maybe don't have anyone, they don't have any friends and they just want to know like, okay, like, yeah, like the overnights are hard, but they do get better and, you know, and eventually they will settle easier and then eventually they do sleep through and everyone's different. Every baby's different. Like Maisie slept through at a much earlier age. I think she was sleeping through the night by like 9 months, whereas Maeve was more like 15 months, you know, so
Yeah.
But saying that, like Maeve was always really easy overnight. So like, you know, she would wake up, have one feed and then go back to sleep. And like, so she wasn't, you know, so I think that's the difference. You're not up all night. Like it's just, but
yeah. And Elsie was the same too. Like when she woke, she was a very quick resettle and back down. Whereas my daughter Madeline was like, you could be up with her for hours.
Yeah.
She just, impossible to settle.
Yeah.
So that was tough.
It's a hard one. And like, cause my girls are like 4 and 2 now. And Maisie now has just started, like we've had really good sleep. Maisie's just started like coming in now. It's like we said, like the different seasons, like we've been really good. And now Maisie has just started like coming in saying like, oh, I've had a bad dream. So, you know, it does kind of like, kind of comes back around again. But the difference is like, it takes me literally 4 minutes to go back in, like you're okay, like stroke ahead and go back to sleep, you know, like it's so different. So, and then dealing with toddlers and preschoolers is easier than dealing with a baby, I think, the next day.
Yeah. No, I'm the same because Henry and Maddie are still saying, like they will wake every now and again during the night, usually with a bad dream, but they're very easy to resettle back. Like they fall almost straight back to sleep.
Yeah.
So there's no like resettling, I guess. They just, they just go straight back to sleep. So it's not like you almost don't have to do anything. So
I know.
Yeah.
I always said that. I was like, I'd rather a baby wake like 5 times a night and be easy to you feed them, they go straight back to sleep, than twice a night where you're up for like an hour, like the same amount of time, but you're fighting with them. It's just like, you just want to say, go to sleep. You are tired. Go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like the more times you're up, because I also find it really hard to fall asleep myself. So by the time I'm back in bed, and this was also hard when I had really young babies that woke frequently. Yeah. By the time I'd get back to sleep, it would take me so long to get like to fall back asleep, and then they'd be awake again, like really soon. Yeah. So
you're laying there, like, please, you're forcing yourself, like, go to sleep, right? You can have, you can probably get 37 minutes now. Just close your eyes, go to sleep.
Basically, I'm probably about 40 minutes before someone else is up.
And I was like, I always found with Maisie, I was really bad for like when I was feeding and stuff in the night, like I would be on my phone and stuff. And I found that was the worst thing, because then if she did fall asleep, then I was kind of awake and wired. So when I had Maeve, I was like, right, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not going to be scrolling. Like I'm going to be listening to stuff. So, or, reading my book. So I tried to do that. So I was either listening to podcast or just trying not to be looking at like a bright screen. So some mums might even be listening to us now as they're, feeding and up all night. So 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 for me, I really struggled with the sleep, as in like I thought, when you're pregnant, you're like, oh, my baby's tired, they will just go to sleep. And I didn't realize there was a thing like for being overtired, and so for me, it was such a shock when it came to like even naps, like putting them down for a nap. I just literally, probably a bit silly now, think about it, but I just literally thought like you put them down and they go to sleep because they're tired. Like, sorry, silly me. Like, but for me, I didn't realize it was like such a big thing. Like, how hard it is to get them to nap like during the day. So for you, did you find it was a shock with Henry your first, like how hard it was to get him to nap during the day?
Yes, he was really hard. He liked to contact nap as well. So like, and because he'd been up every hour and a half on the dot the night before, like I really needed the day to rest and catch up. And he was hard to get down, and he was like, you've already said, like he didn't like the car, he didn't like the pram. So I had to like time when I could go to the shops and and I could do things because I had to be home when he needed to sleep, because he would only sleep in the quiet on me. So it was definitely like a big shock in that sense as well, because, you see other mums like all over, social media and just out and about that like have a sleeping baby in their pram or and they're going for a nice walk in the sunshine. Like I could never do that. Every time I tried, it would just result in like screaming the whole way, and I would just be so stressed. So yeah, it became really like restrictive. Like I felt really like confined to my house because, and especially when babies are little, they have to like their wake windows are what, like half an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would feel like if I needed to go to the shops, I had to race out really quick, get what I needed, race home so that I could be there for his sleep. And yeah, it was like really restricting and isolating. And yeah, just couldn't believe how hard it was.
Yeah, so we were the same. I remember like with Maeve wasn't too bad, but with Maisie, I was like, she literally barely napped, like ever. And like she would, maybe have a little sleep on my boob after she's fed. And then she'd be awake. And then same thing, like I would try and like transfer her to the cot. It was like a little bomb going to go off, like trying to transfer her. And she'd be asleep for like 5 minutes, then she'd wake up. And yeah, I remember same thing, like going out and I'd see these couples having lunch and their babies asleep in the pram next to them in the middle of the day in the sun, like a baby, and I used to be so jealous because with Maisie, I'd have to be there like rocking her, like vigorously rocking her, or in the carrier, like bouncing her to keep her like the whole time until she woke up. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, like I was the same for me. I was like, God, it's hard work. Getting your baby to sleep is hard work. It's a job in itself.
Yeah. And I think as well, like if you don't have other mum friends that you're kind of in it with, like they don't understand when you say that you can't come for coffee or you can't come at that particular time, or they're like, oh, just bring your baby. It's all good. And you're like, yeah, but I can't because they're going to be screaming.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it's really hard, like, when other people don't understand, like, yeah, that's what you're going through as well. So, and even, like, I think at times also Kim didn't understand. He'd be like to me, let's go out. Kim's my husband. He'd be like, let's go out for dinner. When Henry was little, like a couple years old, and I'm like, but what? Are you joking? Like, what do you mean? Let's go for dinner. Like, we're not going to have any fun. He's going to be screaming the whole time. Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah, even him, like, he didn't even get it. Like, yeah, nobody gets it except for mum.
No, I know. It's so hard. And you've mentioned before about these awake windows. So I had no idea like about awake windows, and like, like I literally just thought like, oh, when she's tired, she'll go to sleep. And I remember Maisie as a newborn, like she was up, I remember for like 4 or 5 hours and hadn't slept. And I was trying so hard. I remember my friend coming around, she's a midwife. She's like, oh, I've got any baby to sleep, I can get to sleep. She could not get Maisie to sleep because she was so past it. And, she was just so, and she was crying, upset, and she was on the boob, off the boob. And, and that's why I was like, okay, then I found out about these awake windows, and it was ridiculous. Like she should have had like 3 naps by then, like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, when I was pregnant with Henry, I remember I looked into a couple of different like sleep guide stuff. And like I sort of took a little bit from each one, but I don't think anything really prepared me for when Henry came and I was actually trying to put it into practice. Like it wasn't as smooth as what they make it sound. Like they make it sound so simple, like they go to sleep at this time, they wake up at this time. Like he would just never sleep for that whole time. And everything else was out for the rest of the day. Like it was never as simple as what they made it sound on paper. Like I did have a little bit of an idea, but putting it into practice was a lot harder than what I thought.
Yeah. What did they say? Is it like eat, what is it? Sleep, feed, play? So that they kind of, I remember reading that in like one of the antenatal classes, and it was like, so it's pretty much like, oh, don't feed your baby to sleep. They try and encourage you that, like, don't feed your baby to sleep. Put your baby down, then feed them when they wake up, then play with them, then put them down. But I was like, I don't know any mums that actually worked for.
Yeah, because I remember my first as well. With my second and third, I didn't go to the child health nurse.
Yeah.
But first, they would always tell me at the child health, you have to do it this way. You have to see, play, then sleep. But my kids wouldn't do that because I don't know if it's breastfed versus bottle or maybe like that, but it's natural for them to get sleepy while they're feeding. So that
it's a comfort thing as well. Like my girls, like later on, like when they got like their morning naps, and they didn't always have a feed before, but like for their big nap or nighttime, most of mine like literally fed just before. And I was like, I don't think it's a terrible. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying not to kind of get you in that bad routine and like try and get them to like kind of supposed to settle without it. But do you know what? If you're a mum that's just feeding your baby to sleep, that's okay. Like you do whatever you have to do to get that baby to sleep.
Yeah, I actually think it's like normal. Like it's biologically normal. They're supposed to get sleepy while they're feeding. So if they're asleep, just going to wake them up and be like, it's playtime. So yeah, I stopped going to the child medicine for a while because I was so stressed. I was like, my babies won't do that.
I think that's the thing. Like, same with the books. They give you this textbook thing, and I was like, I did the same stuff for both my kids. I was like, they were so different. The outcomes were so different. Like,
Yeah, that's it. So I sort of like would follow it loosely, but yeah, I would never be able to follow it like word for word because my babies just wouldn't have their own ideas.
I think we did the wake windows from May from kind of like, like from the get-go, because I was like, okay, she's been probably like, only because I was like, I had no idea. So I was like looking at the age thing and I was like, okay, she's 2 weeks old, like 40 minutes, and then she should be going back to sleep. So by the time she, had a bit of a feed, had a little like, look around, and I'd try and be like, okay. I think it wasn't like, I wasn't like trying to rock her, but try not to kind of overstimulate her, like with Maisie, once she got past, I think that's the thing, like, Maisie got so overtired. Like once she got past that, she was like the Antichrist. It was so hard to bring her back down. And I was always like, right, like I can't get Maeve to that level because it's so hard to bring them back again.
Yeah, so I suppose it's just kind of knowing like when to start looking out for those tired signs.
Yeah.
Because see with Maisie, like maybe she was grizzling, but you didn't know that that's what it was. Like, oh, what's going on?
I didn't know overtiredness was a thing. Yeah, like
yeah, that's it.
And what about the sleep regressions? Like, did yours? So I like, I don't know. I got that at that Wonder Weeks app. Remember, you've probably heard of that one.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people swear by it, and I used it for Maisie, but I feel like it used to give me more anxiety because I would look and it would say like they would have this thing that looked like a storm was coming at like a certain age, like, and it was like
huge.
It was huge. It was like
weeks,
and then you'd look and they'd be like 2 weeks off, say they'd be happy with some smiley faces, and then there'll be like another week of like a storm, and I used to look at it and I would freak out about it, and I was like, okay, that means she's going to be sleeping so bad. And I feel like when the mum is anxious, babies can like pick up on that. When you're putting them to bed, they can pick up that you're stressed or anxious, they can smell fear.
Yeah, and we're worried about enough. Like I was the same. I had it with my first but I got to a point where I was checking it too frequently, like getting anxious for what was to come. I think if you've got it, like with my second, I never had it, unless she had been cranky for weeks, and I was like, what is going on? And then I'd finally like download it and have a look and be like, oh, okay. And sometimes in that sense, it would make me feel better, but like I'd only ever check it if we were having a really rough time, because with my first, I'd start looking ahead, and there'd be like some periods of time, there'd be like only 6 days of happy, and then there'd be like 3 weeks of like the storm cloud, and then like another 5 days of happy. I'd be like, oh my God, and I'd start to get stressed.
Me too. And then I'd work out that Maisie was early, so I was actually going backwards. I was like, oh my God, that's now, like.
Oh yeah, some of those things just give you more stress than they were.
I agree. And like, I know that there are things like they say the 4-month sleep regression, and they say, is it the 9-month? 4 and the 9-month, they say they're pretty brutal.
Yeah, and this is funny too, because like with my first two were really close together, they're 18 months apart. But then my next one, Elsie, she was another 3 years after my second, so I'd forgotten a few things.
Yeah.
Because most people know about the 4-month one. They reckon that one's awful. But after that, I didn't really know like too many, and I like, especially since Elsie's in like 3 years, 3 8 months forgotten. And I remember going on, I think when she was around 9 months, because I was like, she started sleeping a little bit worse, and I was like, I Googled what are the sleep regressions, and 9 months came up, but so did 10 months, 11 months.
Oh my God, like that, the rest of your life.
I was like, you're joking me. Like, I wish I didn't look. Yeah, so there's always something going on.
There is always something, I think, for me. And that's the thing. These are the things you remember. So I was like, I remember the 4-month one. And it's usually because like the big regressions, they say. So sleep regression is like when their sleep kind of goes backwards and things. And it's usually when they're trying to do something like developmentally. So by 4 months, like I remember both my girls, because they're trying to roll over and, they're kind of self-settling a bit more and doing all those. I think it's the rolling over is the big one. And then like 9 months is usually when they're like trying to crawl and stand and do those big things. So they kind of say, they have, your body kind of has to give way to something for them to learn a skill. So that's why. So, so
busy.
Exactly. And I think that's why it was 11 months for both my girls as well, because they both walked at 11 months. So think that the sleep between 9 to 11 wasn't great because they were obviously thinking about it and, you know, using that energy on moving and walking and but I know it doesn't make you feel any better if you're in a regression now, but it does. It is like a regression. That's the thing. And also every baby's different. Like, was it Maisie? I think Maisie, well, she was just a terrible sleeper for the first few months. So her overnights was bad and naps. Whereas the Maeve, I think, I can't really remember the regression. I think it didn't really affect her that much. So, you know,
see, I don't think she's really had many huge like regressions. Like the other two, I can pinpoint where they were.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Elsie's never really struggled in that sense. But she's just going 18 months now. So, and I know there's another big one at 18 months. So I'm kind of like, oh, we'll see how we go.
And that's
so, just learning how to talk as well. So like and they're learning stuff. So if she's really busy in her mind, I feel like we might hit another little rough patch.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
And like everyone's different. Like I remember my friend and with her boy, he, for the 4-month sleep regression, he was fine overnight, but it was the days. And she said he literally was just flat out refusing to sleep in the car, in the cot, in the pram. The only way he would sleep literally for 3 weeks was in the carrier. So she would just walk. She used to send me, and she would walk like 11 Ks during the day to get him to sleep, like in the carrier. And it was like, luckily, I don't think it was like in the middle of summer, but yeah, I remember her doing that because it's the only way he would sleep. And it was only for a few weeks, but you know, like it's like they're the things we spoke about it recently. She's like, oh my God, I remember that. And it's just like, yeah, it feels like a distant memory. It's like, was that real?
Yeah, what you had to do to get through.
So did all your kids love the contact naps?
Yeah, pretty much, especially with different stages and phases. I'd say, all three of them, like that's mostly how they slept.
Yeah.
Like I said, Maddie was always on that bowl. Like, and the minute I tried to put her down, she was awake again.
Yeah.
And even with Elsie, and I think because Elsie's third child, quite often if I had one failed attempt to get her in her cot and she wouldn't like stay there, I wouldn't have time to fiddle fart around with it, you know what I mean? So I'd just pop her in the carrier because I'd be doing school drop-offs. I'd be like running around trying to pack lunch boxes, sandwiches, all that sort of thing for my older two kids. So she'd just go in the carrier and she'd fall asleep in there. So yeah, I suppose in a sense she was contact napping as well for a long time. It's just easier that way. But yeah, I would say definitely all three.
How good are the carriers though? Like, even if you've only got one child, they are a godsend. Like for Maisie, who struggled to sleep, like she was like, it was like she was allergic to her cot. You know, I couldn't get her to sleep anywhere else but the cot up until like 6 months during the day. But like I would put her in the carrier and I would just like walk laps of my house, like, you know, and she'd be asleep within a second, you know, and I always say that to mums who are pregnant and like, I'm like, get a good carrier. And it will last you. You will be so grateful.
When all those fails, those carriers are amazing. And like for me, especially when I had my next kids, I even remember when I had Maddie, Henry was only 18 months old. So it was so good with her. And I remember actually even breastfeeding her in mine.
Yes.
So like I'd be able to feed on the go. Like it was just like another set of arms around her.
Yeah.
I could do everything with her in there. It was so good. Just after my toddler.
Oh, we're the same. I remember with Maeve, like going to gymnastics and stuff. Like with your first, you kind of, it's so different. You're home and all the the environment has to be perfect for them to go to sleep. And then with your second, it's like, right, here to go. Your sister's got gymnastics, so you know, okay, you need a nap. Like normally, Maeve, I would have been like, I can't come out from this time. Whereas when you've got other kids, you kind of are a little bit more relaxed with that because, you know, you can't just lock in the house. You got a toddler to tire out, you know, like.
Yeah, that's it. And then like fast with Elsie, we had Henry was in primary school. In pre-primary, so he was 5 days a week. So all the pickups, all the drop-offs, like I had no choice but to wake her up sometimes.
Yeah.
I hate waking babies.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a choice. So she got carted around a bit.
Yeah. And did you ever use so for us, what we helped us with like the sleep aids, like with Maisie, for overnight and even during the naps, we did the whole like the white noise and the dummy and the swaddles and the sleeping bags. And to be fair, like we weren't, I think that's why she slept so terrible. We didn't have any like the white noise going. I didn't have the good sleeping bags and the swaddles. So I think from using those ones from day one from Maeve, I definitely think that helped. Did you kind of use any sleep aids like that?
Yeah, we did the same thing. So that's part of what I picked up from those sleep guides.
Yeah.
Having that structured, like free bed.
It's like that same thing every single day. Yeah.
and the sleep sack and stuff. And yeah, white noise has been like a godsend in your house, especially when you have like a second or third child and there's lots of noise going on. It like kind of masks some of that like outside noise, especially after they hit 4 months old. I think part of why that sleep regression is so nasty at 4 months is because they're suddenly more aware of like noises and stuff.
Yeah.
And they become really light sleepers, and any tiny noise wakes them up. So yeah, we've always done the white noise. Dummies has been a bit. My son took one, but not until he was about 7 months old. It's a little strange.
Yeah.
And then he had it till he was like 2. But with my girls, I wished they would take a dummy, but they just bar of it. They were not interested at all. I tried so many different ones, so many different times. I think because especially my daughter Maddie used to use me as a dummy.
Yeah.
I got so like touched out, and I was just really not coping with it. But no, she would not take a dummy. But we did use the white noise and the sleeping bags, like the swaddles, until they could roll and stuff.
Yeah.
Which always really helped as well. Like I think them feeling a bit more secure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. We like the white noise. We've still got it for our girls. We got it's called the Shusher. So it's like you can literally find it on Spotify, and it it's free, and it just goes like over and over again. And like both my girls, so they're 4 and 2, and they both still have it. So because I was like, oh, what age do I get rid of it? And then I was like reading all these studies, and it was like some adults will listen to like audiobooks or like sleep stories or podcasts to help them fall asleep, and they're saying and they actually encourage kids to keep with these kind of like white noise machines, so. And especially when they get older and their brain starts to tick away and they're thinking of things, they're able to focus on the noise, and it helps them fall asleep easier. So we still got ours going, and
Yeah, same. All my kids still have white noise in their room, and even like I still have to sleep with white noise because I'm a light sleeper, even if I hear something. So we all still have white noise in our house.
Yeah, Mum had the girls the other weekend, and Mark was away, so I was on my own in the house, and it was so quiet. And whenever they're not here, I sleep terrible because there's no you can't hear any of the white noise or the monitor, and the house is so quiet, and I sleep so bad. It's great.
Yeah, same.
And so as for the sleeping bags, which ones did you end up using? We used the Ergo Baby and the Love to Dream. So because Maisie loved the little arms up, so they were really cute. And then Maeve had the full sack, she literally looked like a worm, she had to have everything tucked in, no arms out, nothing.
We did a bit of both as well. I think Henry was in the full blown Ergo with his arms down, and loved that. But I found that a lot harder to transition out of.
Yes.
Or if it's him, I don't know, because with the girls, they were both in the Love to Dream where their arms were up.
Yeah.
And they transitioned pretty easy out of those. But yeah, they were all a little bit different.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And the Love to Dream were good because then when they get older, they have these little zips. So you can so I didn't realize this. The reason they have the zips on is so you can take their arms out. And for me, because when they start to roll, they say, they can't have their arms tucked in anymore. Their arms need to be out. So they were kind of saying they call them the transition swaddle. And they said take one arm out at a time. So I was like, okay. So I put Maisie down with one arm out. And then I didn't realize they say, oh no, it's when they're asleep. Go and unzip it. So, because then once they're in, then they get used to having it around while they're asleep. Because the hardest part is them falling asleep because they still have that startle reflex. Yeah. So then I didn't realize that. I was like, oh no. So I literally pretty much did her cold turkey. So, so she was difficult. I was like, oh, so then I always advise people, I'm like, just wait till they're asleep, then unzip their arm,
yeah. I don't know. I think sometimes cold turkey is the way to go as well. Because with Henry, we tried to do one arm and then the other arm, and it took so long. Whereas with the girls, I just made cold turkey, their arms out, put to bed like that, and was like, see you later.
I know. Especially when you've got more than one child sometimes. I think that's why they kind of, Maeve would settle a bit better because I'd put her down to bed. And then she would have a little whinge, and I'd go back into her, and then I got busy with Maisie, a 2-year-old. She needed me, and then by the time I went in, I'm like, oh, Maeve's asleep. Whereas first you rush back in, and and they're saying sometimes they just need to have a little whinge, a little grizzle. But yeah, so, poor second kids, third kids, fourth kids. So, did you ever kind of use any of the sleep aids, the apps, or did you ever use any sleep consultants for your kids?
No, not really. Every now and again, I'd have some sort of tracking app. Never really it religiously.
Yeah.
And then the only other, I almost got consultants for Maddie because she was, definitely my worst one. But we never ended up doing it. The only things I've ever done is, like we're talking about before, those sleep programs that you can buy online.
Yeah.
That's probably all I did with my kids. I probably should have. I should have got a consultant.
Yeah.
The amount of times people were like, get someone to help you. And I was like, no, I'm doing it myself.
I know, but it's hard when you're stubborn and you're in the thick of it and you're just kind of like, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to crack it. I'm going to crack it because they slept last night. So you do the same formula, everything the same. And then no.
So no, I never ended up doing any of that.
I love the little ones program. I actually swear by that. So because I wasn't keen on the crying, getting them to cry to sleep and stuff, especially from such a young age. I was kind of, and that's the thing, everyone's kind of got their own way of doing it and it's a personal choice with what everyone wants to do. And I think for me, I was like, I like routine. I thrive off routine. So I was like, I liked to know, I was like, right, I want to have our naps the same time every day, and the little ones kind of helped me do that. And so I knew kind of when they were going to have their naps and I'm like one of these, I'm like, right, write it down. Tell me what time do I need to put my child to bed? What time, and that was it. It was like, okay, they've only slept an hour. So I could look at the little one's sleep guide and it's like, okay, so bring bed forward this time, put him to bed at this time. So, I used to print it out and put it on my fridge with every age they went up and I swore by it. I think it was great.
I think part of why I could never follow it properly was because I could never wake my babies up.
Oh, see, I did. I was like, I swore, but it was like a Bible to me.
Yeah. But it was good too because then when on the off chance that, if your mum needed to help out or something, you'd be like, here's the schedule.
Yeah.
It was easier for people to come in and
it was.
follow what we were doing.
But mum used to tease me all the time because I was like, right, mum, she has to have 30 minutes. That is it. 30 minutes for a morning nap, say. And I was like, right, so she falls asleep at 10:07. Wake her at 10:37. And I know, and my mum used to be like, just seriously, Lisa. I'm like, no, seriously, mum, if she sleeps for any longer, she'll go into a deep sleep, any less. And then I was like, she's not going to be tired enough for a long nap. And honestly, and then I would drop Maisie around when I went to work and I was like, all right, let me know what time she wakes. And then 2.5 hours later, blah, blah, blah. And her and her friends used to sit there just laughing at me like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So I remember saying, I was like, right, mum, I'm going to work for the whole day. So, you can do whatever you want to do then, whatever you want to do. And then she was like, oh, I said, the reason I do it is because it works. It actually works. And then she was like, oh, and then anyway. And then I think, yes, I was like, oh, did you do it your way? She's like, oh, no, because it does work your way, and I was like, there's a science to it.
Yeah, they can't make fun of you if it works.
So she actually says, she's like, I will eat my words, because she always used to say, oh, you're just so lucky with Maisie. She sleeps. And I'm like, do you not remember those first few months? She was terrible. That's why I had to do something because it wasn't working. And then, yeah. So, yeah, I think for us, we just kind of had a positive sleep environment. We were like, oh, it's bedtime. We were never like, right, you've been naughty. Now you go to bed. It was always a joy to go to bed. Maeve's nearly 3 and she still has a nap and she still kind of fights a little bit. It was like, oh, me no bed, me no tired. But as she's walking to her bed, it's not like I'd have to drag her I'm not tired and she gets into bed. I'm like, okay, sure you're not.
Oh, that's so good that she still sleeps.
Yeah, for now. But so this is what we're saying about the season. So, but we're looking at transitioning her out of her cot to her bed in a couple of weeks. And I know for a fact, she's going to be my one that's up all the time. Maisie wasn't. Maisie didn't twig that she could get out of her bed. She would just sit up and call me. She never got out. Whereas my youngest is a firecracker. She's going to be up
Oh, yeah, it's hard to say because mine did my first student the same. Even though they could get out of their bed, they never did. They just sit up and call for me.
It's weird, isn't it? They don't know.
Yeah, it's you can get up,
Not I'm complaining, but
Well, that's it, yeah. Oh, that's going to be, an interesting time for you guys.
I'm absolutely dreading it. And I feel like I've left it for so long, especially because she still naps during the day. And I was like, I know the day naps will disappear once she's in her bed because she will, because she already kind of fights me during the day. I don't want to go to bed. So she's just going to get up during the day. So I know for a fact that's going to be, that's going to be hard. So maybe we'll touch back in with that at the minute. I'm like, oh yeah, sleep is great. Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah, it's all about the seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So my last question for you, Amanda, if you could go back to when you had your first baby, you just had a baby, you know, you're all fresh. What would you tell yourself about your baby's sleep? If there's anything you could say to yourself.
Oh gosh, there's probably so many things, but I think just just to lose the expectations. I think, like we were saying before, you go into it thinking it's going to be easy, your baby's going to sleep, and I think when you've got those expectations and things are going wrong or they're not going to plan, you can get really stressed and overwhelmed and all that. So, and I suppose I have done that a little bit more going in with my third child. Like I've been a little bit more go with the flow, and it has made it a little bit easier. But just to let go of the expectations and know that it doesn't last forever. Like you go through a hard patch and it does definitely eventually get easier. Don't know when that's going to be, but it does. Like they all change and they grow and they get better at it. So it doesn't last forever.
I love that. It's so true. So if there's mums that are listening and they are in the thick of it, it does get easier. Even like we said, our kids are still up now, but like it's not to the extent as when they're newborns. Like that babies, it's a hard time. For me, the sleep deprivation killed me. Like it is a hard time. It's a shock, but it does get easier and you're able to function more. So for the mums that are in the middle of it, you are doing an amazing job. Keep doing it and find other mums who you can chat to and vent to and that makes a world of difference.
Yeah, so that you don't feel alone.
Exactly. And I said to motherhood, it's kind of one of these, it's the loneliest job. It's weird. Like even though we're surrounded by people all day and we're touched out all day, it's still one of the loneliest things you can do, because you could go for days without speaking to another adult. So if that's you, reach out, find some other mums and look for help, look for awake windows on what helps your baby. And at the end of the day, whatever you need to do to get your baby to sleep, just do it. And don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel, we're all just trying to do our best.
Yeah, that's it. You just do your best.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Amanda, for coming on.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Real Mummy podcast. Remember, every mum's journey is unique and you are doing an amazing job. Please be sure to head over to our website at www.realmummypodcast.com to stay up to date with the latest episodes and dive into our recent blog articles filled with even more wisdom and stories. We absolutely love connecting with our listeners, so don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Real Mummy Podcast. Join the conversation, share your thoughts and become part of our supportive mum community. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you got a topic you want covered? Do you have a guest you'd love to hear from? Reach out to us through our website or social media. Your input is invaluable and helps us to create the content that matters most to you. Thank you for being part of the Real Mummy podcast family. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind to yourself, and remember, you're never alone on this journey. You've got this.